So one of the episodes that I've been really looking forward to is this particular episode, just because of the relationship between Cliff and Elinalise, and Cliff and Rudy as well, because for those that don't remember, in the anime there is an OVA episode that is about Eris, and there's a character introduced called Cliff. So for those, some may remember it, some may have not watched it, or some have. But there is that section there. So Cliff has a bit of a bone to pick with Rudy because of the fact that Cliff fell in love with Eris way back, but Eris was clearly much more infatuated with someone else, which rubbed Cliff the wrong way. And because of the fact that Eris put Rudy on such a high pedestal, it gave a bit of much of a bone for Cliff to pick with Rudy. But as time went on, Rudy kind of weaned his way into a more softer part of Cliff's heart. Cliff warmed up to Rudy, and of course with the fact that Cliff fell in love with Elinalise, head over heels, love at first sight, and Rudy being that wingman that he is and introducing Cliff to Elinalise and it being successful, allowed that relationship or friendship between them to begin, which is one of those things that I really love, because I think Cliff is one of those characters that for anime-only fans, you will very much enjoy. But the fact of this episode is one of those amazing ways of just introducing a bit of a fun comedic way of a romance starting, a relationship that was seen that would be a disaster waiting to happen because of Elinalise's curse, and even Elinalise was very adamant to reject Cliff. Rudy brings Cliff in, very much gives a warning, hey, you know, these are repercussions, you can't blame me for them, etc, etc. Elinalise pulls Rudy aside, has a bit of a word. Elinalise is very determined to reject Cliff's advancements, but then in the end she ended up buckling under pressure and ended up falling head over heels for Cliff's smooth Rizz master kind of talk. That's one of the things that I just love about Cliff, is his genuine honesty with his heart. He's very driven, passionate, and he speaks from the heart. And the fact is, it shows very much that he's determined to try and help Elinalise with her curse, and she's been upfront, said, hey, I've got this curse, this is why I do the things that I do. But it also does prove the fact that Cliff getting upset at certain other students for claiming they've been spreading rumors about her, finding out that those weren't actually rumors, those were just factually correct, because yeah, Elinalise has been a little bit naughty, going around having a lot of playtime with other students because of the fact of her curse. And I've spoken about the curse in more detail and some of the spoiler stuff and backstory stuff in a previous video about Elinalise's backstory. Not all of it, but at least the good summary points that will give you an idea of what Elinalise's backstory is and what the curse entails, etc. So if you do want that, check out the analysis playlist for that information. But then also you've got the repercussions of the Beast Tribe and the mating season. Now, it doesn't really go over it super heavy about the mating season, because the girls end up hiding themselves away because all the Beast Boys are going out there looking for them to fight them to win them in courtship, basically. If they beat them in a duel, they're able to marry them and then become the leader of the Beast Tribe. That's what they're trying to do. And because Rudy is now the boss man, they have put it upon Rudy to be the one that has to defeat all the opponents that come looking for them. So it's an easy scapegoat for them to hide themselves away for a period of time, and Rudy has to deal with the collateral damage, which is why he ends up bumping into a certain big, purpley, jolly old man that ends with a very comedic way of... as I say, I think it's perfectly done for the anime. The way the duel goes, the animations, the color, like, it just looked really good. The way Rudy's spell glows and spins and it materializes, absolute beautiful. The way the crowd is mesmerized by it. Fitz is also sitting there looking at the power and the mana going into it. Really, really love the way that episode was done. Now, I won't say exactly too much about one thing that was shown is that there is a certain girl in this episode that's in blue armored outfit and she's got a sword, and that is one of the individuals that was lined up to duel Rudy, which is what Fitz notes on as, hey, there is one girl out there, and Rudy makes a little remark about, oh, is she cute? That girl does have an importance to the story, but you'll find that out at a later date because it is a spoiler, because it's not going to be skipped content. It will be most likely explained at a later date, but that is something from an extra chapter that has been brushed over. I think most of you will gather what that is, but I don't want to spoil that for anime only fans that do not want spoilers. Now, there is some cut content, little pruned bits here and there, just things like, for example, when Cliff is getting into a fight, it doesn't fully explain everything in full detail, and it doesn't have all the full conversations going on between the different characters. It doesn't need to be there. It does a good enough job giving the highlights, but there is little subtle details missing there, as well as the Beast Tribe stuff. There's those little moments. So as far as the episode goes, it cuts very minor amount of content, very little subtle details, but I think the anime did a very good job on the pacing and going over everything, and especially when Rudy's having that conversation with the Demon Lord himself and discussing about the man god, and then also Orsted as well, him accidentally throwing those names out there and being like, hey, do you know this person? And then being like, okay, well, clearly not, and then mentioning the Dragon Lord or Orsted, and then that kind of being like, oops, maybe I spoke too soon kind of thing. It was done perfectly. I love the chemistry. I love the way also when Spaghetti was, I call him Spaghetti, he gets defeated. He ends up shrinking slightly in size. So just to point that out, when he was defeated, as he said, hey, I've revived, it doesn't actually show his entire body being completely knocked out because ratings and all the rest, but it does show his arms coming back together, but his body does shrink. It's the same for his wife. When she's killed and defeated, she shrinks back to a smaller size. For him, it is very much the same. So he will grow back to his former size, but it does make it nice and convenient, though, that now that he's shrunk in size, he can actually move around in the academy a little bit easier, even though he still ends up destroying some of the buildings when going in there. And then, of course, Rudy grabbing a bit of a feel as his own little reward. Again, that's for comedic values. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm sure there'll be some complaints on the internet about how Rudy is the most horrible person on the planet for copying a feel of the Beast Girls. Again, it is what it is. Take it as you will. You either love it or you hate it, but I also do find it funny that there are some people complain about that scene, but then we'll watch harem animes that have girls kicking guys downstairs, flight of stairs, etc., or wrong place, wrong time kind of scenes, and never really bat an eye. But when Mushoku Tensei does something slightly like that, suddenly it's the worst thing since sliced bread. So it is kind of just funny to see how the community responds to it. But overall, I think the episode was absolute phenomenal. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. How did you feel about this episode? Do you think the pacing was good? Did you like the animations? Did you love the chemistry between the characters? It is one of those that I very much enjoy and look forward to the next episode because of a certain white masked girl. So that very much was hinted at the end of the episode with the name of the thing, so the white mask, so we know who that's going to be based on the previous episodes, the opening song, or previous episodes being the previous season, and then of course the opening song itself. So again, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.